Today's episode is supported by Liberty Magic, Pittsburgh's premier speakeasy theater dedicated to the art of elevating magic. They're presenting Jared Kopf in the show We Phantom Figures. Jared is an absolute pro with card tricks, and this show is full of intimate magic that really draws you in and just refuses to let go. You may have actually seen Jared's work already. He's done practical effects for a ton of movies and TV shows like Red Thread, A Ghost Story, and Now You See Me, Now You Don't. So you're not going to want to miss your chance to see his tricks up close and in person. We Phantom Figures runs from May 7th to the 17th. Get your tickets at trustarts.org/magic before they disappear.
CityCast Pittsburgh is supported today by the Women's Center and Shelter of Greater Pittsburgh. Almost 50% of women and men in the United States have experienced emotional abuse by an intimate partner. And if you are seeking support, the Women's Center and Shelter of Greater Pittsburgh is here for you. Last year, they served more than 8,000 people impacted by domestic violence. You can call their hotline, join a support group, even find a place for emergency shelter. For more information on how to support them and their work, visit wcspittsburgh.org. This is CityCast Pittsburgh. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about.
Producer Sophia Lowe jumping in really quick here. Before we get into the show, another reminder that it is our spring membership campaign. We are headed into week 2 of this, and I am here with newsletter editor Francesca DeBecco to talk about why you should become a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor.
Yes. For one thing, you get really great perks like ad-free podcast listening, a special bonus segment on every Friday show. That's new and exciting. You get lots of fun tips, maybe some gossip.
CityCast secrets, as you like to call it.
Yes. You also get invitations to members-only events where you get to hang out with us and other Pittsburghers. We do a lot of fun things like food tastings, behind-the-scenes tours, and every week I'll send you an email on Monday with a roundup of all sorts of fun things to do in the city that week. It's sort of a really great preview to plan your week ahead and get out there in the burg.
Totally, because we are all about connecting you to the city that we all call home. And you get all of these perks for $10 a month or $100 a year at membership.citycast.fm/Pittsburgh. We've also got a link in our show notes, too.
Yeah. And if you think about it, that's like not even more than a nice meal out. So, just think of it like every time you're listening to the podcast or reading the newsletter, you're like hanging out with us. You're having a nice meal.
One day I'm also going to do all the math to figure out our ad time and, how much time and money that goes out to.
Yeah. Definitely. And this helps ensure that our podcast and newsletter can stick around so we can keep informing you about the things that should be on your radar.
Like, for example, the fact that the Steelers and Pirates, both of them are angling for stadium upgrades and, maybe even an entirely new stadium.
Yeah.
We are still paying off the current stadiums, just FYI. We'll get more into this on today's episode.
And whether you're a sports fan or not, it's important to know how your tax money is being used and whether the teams might hold Pittsburgh hostage and demand these new stadiums or else threaten to leave town, which is so hard to imagine.
I know. I am absolutely not the biggest sports person. Everyone who listens to the show regularly has probably heard me ask a silly question or two. But still, I usually try to go to PNC Park once or twice a year. It's beautiful there, and it is fun to just be in community with other people, whether we are cheering on the Pirates or maybe booing Bob Nutting.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, we are working hard every day to bring you information that helps you understand what's happening in the city so you can better engage with it. So that'll mean talking about what's on your ballot soon. We talk about what's debated in city council, and just generally where your taxpayer money is going.
Yes, all the things you need to know. And when you become a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor, you really help us do that. So if we've ever given you a heads up on something important or helped you understand a big local issue, consider becoming a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. Again, that's $10 a month or $100 a year so you can help make CityCast Pittsburgh sustainable.
Plus, you will unlock all those great perks we mentioned. And during this campaign only, you will get this very cool CityCast Pittsburgh pennant.
It's so cute.
Yes, it's made by Oxford Pennant. You've probably seen their ads on Instagram or something. And you can get one for your home. Our CityCast Pittsburgh pennant is bright yellow, so very cheery for the season. And it says, "I live here on purpose." And it's got this cute little sweater cardigan icon, think similar to something Mr. Rogers might wear. And you can just show off your hometown pride.
Yeah. I think it would go great in your gallery wall or your home office or maybe even your cubicle. So earlier in the campaign, we said our goal was 75 new CityCast Pittsburgh neighbors. But actually, guys, it's 90 new neighbors. And we know that at least 90 of you are listening right now. So we can do this. We can do this, guys. Become a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. Actually, we have 90 neighborhoods. So I like to think maybe at least one of you from each neighborhood can become a neighbor and we can meet our goal. So again, that's membership.citycast.fm/Pittsburgh.
I love that so much, Francesca. And I'm not going to lie, we are behind the goal of 90 new neighbors, but I know lots of people are listening. And if we get 16 new signups today, we will stay on track. So head over to membership.citycast.fm/Pittsburgh to sign up and support local journalism. And now I'll throw it over to Megan. She had this great conversation with a writer from The Athletic who was actually out on assignment when she caught up with him.
The NFL draft may be over, but we are somehow still talking about football and sort of baseball, but we're doing that with a hockey writer who is in another city. Hello, Sean Gentili. Welcome to CityCast.
Glad to be back. Yes. Edmonton, Alberta is a little bit far away from my house in Greenfield. I don't know how I ended up here, but it's been here since Saturday.
Well, you're there because you're a Pittsburgher, but you're also like one of the brightest sports minds. You know so much about Pittsburgh sports, like kind of writ large, not just our hockey land. And we're talking about something that just got a lot of attention, the Steelers' home, Acrisure Stadium, and also sort of PNC Park. Why do the Steelers need a new stadium? Why or why not?
Money.
Why? But like, why? What is the tangible benefit?
The Steelers love money. We've seen a wave of stadium construction in the NFL over the last 10, 12 years. It's all built around securing a Super Bowl. That's what every NFL stadium these days is built to attract. And they cost $2 billion or thereabouts. That's like the running cost. They usually have retractable roofs or just straight up permanent roofs, because that's a prerequisite for attracting a Super Bowl. I'm sure this is part of what we're going to talk about. I don't know that's necessarily would be on the table for Pittsburgh, but we've seen they just built one in Buffalo. They're going to build one in Cleveland. We're on a second crest of this wave of stadium building that's taken place in the league, and it's not surprising that the Steelers have raised the topic. Their lease is up in 2030, so.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, teams lease their arenas most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
They almost never own them because then they'd have to do all the upkeep themselves. If
Correct.
the city, the municipality, in our case, something called the Sports and Exhibition Authority owns it, then they're the landlord and responsible for fixing everything when it breaks or just upgrading when the team demands it. I mean, why? We just proved we could throw the biggest party in city history. Mm-hmm. What could we possibly need that makes it better?
The Super Bowl. That's it.
Is that really it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the Rooneys care about it, the owners of the Steelers? Because we've never had one. If you're not aware, we've never hosted a Super Bowl because we've never had an arena that was capable of it. And usually they don't pick teams where it's cold in February.
It would be unlikely, and it would be a one-time thing. That's sort of the way it's worked over the last, we'll say, 25 years. There are Super Bowl rotation cities, right? It's back in New Orleans after some, structural issues with the Superdome that were addressed. This is in the last 5 years. I'm not talking about 20 years ago. It's in San Diego. It's in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Vegas is in the rotation now. So you have these staple cities. You can pencil them in as hosting a Super Bowl every 5 or 6 years, right? But in the last 10 or 15 years, we've seen one-offs in other cities that build stadiums. So there was one in Minneapolis, and there was one in New Jersey, and there was one in Detroit way back when the Steelers won Super Bowl 40. Those were one-offs basically given as, I don't want to say a gift, but as as a gift to ownership groups who found a way to get those stadiums built. Like, will there ever be another Super Bowl in Detroit? No. Will there ever be another Super Bowl in Minneapolis? No. But they happened, and it's not a coincidence that they happened either in year 1 or year 2 or year 3 of those stadiums construction.
So you're telling me $2 billion for a one-time party? Why? Why would anyone ever agree to that?
The non-negotiable when it comes to this, when you're building an NFL stadium as it relates to getting a Super Bowl, is there needs to be a retractable roof. That's just rule 1.
Yeah.
And we've seen in Buffalo, for example, they opened this up next season, built a new stadium almost literally next to their existing one, which is the oldest in the league.
Which is what Pittsburgh did way back when we demolished Three River Stadium. It was in that middle area between what is now PNC Park and the Steelers. They played in the same arena. And then when they demolished that, they didn't do it all at the same time, but they built the Steelers on one side and the Pirates on the other.
Mm-hmm. Buffalo built their new one basically in the parking lot of their current one. Buffalo, as you would imagine, gets a ton of snow. They kind of lean into it. They love having games that are in wintry weather.
It was hilarious during that playoff run where they were like, I think it was volunteer initially until they got shamed into paying people like, I don't know, $20 an hour or something to shovel snow out of the arena.
Correct. They were using local people. Yeah, come. Like they turned it into some weird, psychological experiment where they acted like they were doing people a favor by letting them show up and do labor. Right?
I mean, they kind of were. They're like all these Buffalo Bills fans were like so excited to get access to the stadium. Like,
what an honor!
I know.
What an honor to go shovel snow in a stadium that was built in 1962 or whatever. Buffalo, the new building doesn't have a roof. Because they lean into the whole, we love it. It snows. Yeah, we want there to be snow on the ground during playoff games and whatever else. So Buffalo is a weird example of a team that from the jump was like, we don't need a Super Bowl. We're fine. We don't need to be in that mix. We want to build the stadium that we want to build. Who cares if we get the big game down the line, right? So I can imagine the Steelers following a similar route there, where they get their building, they figure out where it is, which is a whole other question that I'm sure we'll get into. But they say to some extent, A, because of cost, because Art Rooney II is incredibly cheap in a lot of ways, truly. They would take the smaller price tag because you wouldn't have to worry about constructing the roof and just being like, yeah, great. We love it. This is Pittsburgh. It snows, AFC North. We want to have the weather be a factor in our games. Like, just give us the draft again in 20 years, right? Like I can certainly imagine that being part of it too.
But like the lifespan on our arenas now is so much more. Like I get it if you were built in the 60s, the 70s. Ours was just built in the 2000s. Like it's just now getting to be 20 years old. This conversation's happening because that lease is about to be up. And as everyone who's ever rented an apartment knows, you have to have the rental conversation before your lease actually expires.
Uh-huh.
So that's what we're hearing now. And I keep hearing different numbers. Like I've heard 800 million. I've heard 1.8 billion. Mm-hmm. What is the Steelers' play right now? What do we know of what they've actually asked?
Very little. They've gotten money from the Sports and Exhibition Authority, which Megan, like you said, they're the government entity. Because it sounds like it's not necessarily the county, but it's like
it is. It's got city people, it's got county people, it's also got nebulous people that you've like heard of vaguely, but don't know quite what they do, like state lawmakers and stuff. Yeah,
they hold the wallet. So if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Pittsburgh Pirates or whatever, the convention center, there's certainly other entities.
Yeah, they have a bunch of arenas.
Those are the three big ones, and you want money from the county and the city to replace the seats in Acrisure Stadium, which is happening right now. If you want new video boards, if you want whatever.
All of which is happening in tandem with the draft.
I believe it's like just $6 million to replace, 55,000 seats, right? Yeah, big air quotes on that.
By the way, I think it's hilarious what they're doing. They all used to be yellow, which is very pretty in a skyline shot, but makes it very obvious when they don't fill the seats. Oh, so they're alternating now black and yellow, so it's not quite so clear when people don't come to the games.
Pitt says, thank you very much. We appreciate this. Those Thursday night games against NC State that everyone likes to make fun of for the stadium being half full on, they will appreciate the added cover on that one for sure.
Yeah, it will look a little bit better. But like all of these upgrades are already happening. All those checks have theoretically already been cut, or at least the money's being spent.
Correct. It's a 3-year process. I know the seats were the big one, but I know last year there were some video board updates. Like these aren't necessarily cosmetic things. Like some of them are to improve the in-stadium experience. That's another. We'll use another set of air quotes on that.
You got to let people post to Instagram while they're sitting in their seats. It's really important.
But hey, as someone who got screwed by the Wi-Fi in that press box plenty of times, I'm not going to complain about those upgrades. But yeah, some of them are more aesthetic than others. Like the seats do need to be addressed. A lot of them are cracked. A lot of them are like detached from the concrete. There's like certain, more architectural things that need to be just standard upkeep when you're talking about year 25 of a stadium, which is what we're on there. But that's standard issue stuff. That's stuff that they would apply for and money that they would seek, whether or not they were secretly planning to move to Washington County in 2035 or whatever, right? So I wouldn't read too much into the fact that they're doing renovations now. Those are things that are necessary to some degree over the next 5 years. Do you know what I mean? Like if the lease is up in 2030. If they only get 5 years out of these new seats or whatever, then fine. That's a necessary bit of business. So I wouldn't read too much into the fact that they're doing renovations just yet.
Today's show is brought to you by Bike Pittsburgh. May is National Bike Month, which means it's the perfect time to dust off your bike and go for some spring rides, or try biking through the city for the first time. Bike Pittsburgh is a local nonprofit in support of better biking and walking, and they're hosting some really fun events this month to make biking around town even more enticing and show off why we're such a great biking city. There's Bike to Work Day on May 14th, where you can grab a free coffee and some breakfast treats on your morning commute, or roll into a happy hour later in the day. And there's also the Spring Bike Picnic on May 30th. You hop on your bike at the Frick Environmental Center, go for a tour down some of the city's best bike lanes, and then come back for an outdoor picnic with hot dogs and lawn games. Personally, I love biking around Pittsburgh. It's my preferred mode of transportation, and I'm all about getting some extra perks while I'm out and about on two wheels. If this also sounds like your jam, visit bikepgh.org for the full Bike Month schedule and follow @bikepgh on social media. Today's show is brought to you by Union Project. Their Mother of All Pottery sales is coming up on May 9th. This event features stunning ceramic artwork for sale from over 40 ceramic artists. I go to this sale every year, and I'm always amazed by how many different styles are on display. Some of the artwork is very intricate and delicate looking. Some of it's really funky, or even a little creepy, but in the best possible way. I've seen vases, mugs, little jewelry dishes, and snack plates. It is the perfect place to find a gift for a loved one or for yourself. Plus, there's clay demos for all ages and food trucks. The event is free from 11 to 4, or you can get early bird tickets for $20 and shop before everyone else from 10 to 11. Don't miss the Mother of All Pottery sales and get your early bird tickets at unionproject.org.
Hi there, it's Megan, host of CityCast Pittsburgh. I want to tell you about something that we just added for our CityCast Pittsburgh neighbors, our podcast listeners, that I am so excited about. So every Friday, we do our roundup show. It's the news you need from the week, a little bit of opinion, a whole lot of news and analysis, and trying to connect the dots between all kinds of disparate things that happened, but definitely affect your life. So starting a few weeks ago, after that regular episode wraps, neighbors now get access to an exclusive bonus segment in a special members-only ad-free feed. So not only do you not get the other ads, you also get this bonus other thing, more of the show that you love. This is something that Mallory, Sophia, and I have wanted to do for actual years, so some of it is hot gossip. Some of it is the stuff we genuinely tell our friends about how the city works. It's our hot tips, our hot takes. There are lots of things we think and know about living in Pittsburgh that we don't always put into the microphone. However, Yins are now our neighbors. And what is a neighbor for if not to spill the good tea? This is all for listeners who really want to dig deep into Pittsburgh with me and the rest of our CityCast Pittsburgh team. If that is you, we hope you will consider becoming a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. You'll get this Friday bonus segment, ad-free listening all week long, invites to members-only events, and sometimes nice merch, like 412 Day when we gave out hats to any of our members who came by our booth. You also get a weekly preview of the best things happening around the city and more. It's just $10 a month or $100 a year, and it all goes directly towards supporting our tiny, scrappy little team. We are locals. We are literally your neighbors. You have sometimes caught us out at Giant Eagle and clocked our voices from afar. We kind of love it. We love making something that you listen to every day. We hope you'll read more. We hope you'll consider becoming a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. You can find all the details at membership.citycast.fm/Pittsburgh. That's membership.citycast.fm/Pittsburgh. And neighbors, I will see y'all in the bonus segment. Well, so let's talk about the Super Bowl. Like, should we even want that?
That's a fair question. I guess, we'll have a better idea whenever the dust settles on the draft, right? Because there's a list of non-negotiables that the NFL seeks from a potential Super Bowl host, right? You have to have, I believe it's 35, these are hotel rooms. They need to equal or exceed 35% of the stadium's capacity within an hour drive of the stadium itself, that's overly complicated. And that was certainly a number that Pittsburgh 10 years ago or 15 years ago couldn't hit. That would have been a stumbling block for a while is hotel stock.
Yeah.
That's since been fixed.
I also wonder if like Airbnbs and stuff like that can qualify now too.
Yeah,
because if you add that,
I wonder if that's in these documents too that I remember when they leaked. This is a long time ago now too. So like these are who knows what the NFL's internal discussions are like now to account for stuff like Airbnbs, because that certainly does change the calculus a bit. But that's a box, for example, that Pittsburgh checks. But there's there's stuff about practice facilities and
which also got upgraded a couple years ago.
Yep, and there's space outside the stadium for certain other NFL events. Like there's a laundry list of things that you have to have cold from in addition to the stadium itself, right? To even be considered for it.
I'm reading kind of a condensed version of that list. Dedicated space for media and pregame. I would argue the draft was a dress rehearsal for that. Stadium with at least 70,000 seats. I think. Acrisure qualifies as that if we're at capacity.
Barely, yeah.
And then the retractable roof if you're in a cold weather climate, which I think Pittsburgh still is. Climate change be damned.
For now. Yeah.
I think we still qualify as. But the one that I think is still limiting is robust public transit and infrastructure and proximity to an airport. Even if we could pretend PRT will fix the first one, we can't move our airport.
Nope. I've been in this business for a while. I've got a lot of friends in the business who are one of the first thing they always say is like, boy, airport's pretty far. Right? They're like, that was a long ride in. And I'm like, yeah, it was.
It's really pretty when you finally get here.
Totally.
We make you wait.
It's worth it. But if you could just move it a little bit closer to the Fort Pitt Tunnel, it would, cut back on the travel time for sure. Yeah.
Well, so that's the next question then. Like, if our lawmakers say no, which so far, Sarah Namarato, our county executive, has said, absolutely not. $2 billion is a joke. Absolutely not. We will not discuss a roof. And Corey O'Connor kind of didn't answer the question, but said he didn't think that a roof was real football.
That's an answer that was built in a lab to appeal to a certain demographic, right? Yeah, absolutely.
So, but let's say that they can't be swayed. And they say, no, we're not going to put that on taxpayers. Where would the team conceivably land that might put them closer to fitting all those parameters?
That's a good question. I still think...
Because if you get closer to the airport, you lose the hotel rooms. If you go up to Cranberry where you got all the money and the highway, you're way further away from the airport.
I still think just generally like that the most likely outcome...
Well, I guess it's an hour, so it's not that far.
If you look at the overall picture, the most logical move is to renovate Heinz Field. That would be very expensive.
Heinz Field.
Heinz Field. My God.
Heinz Field forever.
See, I told him I'm from here. If anybody had doubts. Acrisure Stadium.
Yeah, I've also heard Washington County. I mean, you mentioned that too.
That was always. I know this discussion. I think in the last 5 years or so, as we have creeped a little closer to the 2030 lease potential expiration. I think, when this started, when this discussion started, people like floating Washington County.
But your money's not on any of that. You think that if they were going to do it, they would do something with Acrisure?
I think there is a traditionalist bent to that organization still.
Single family ownership since inception, baby.
Absolutely. And we saw it play out when lawmakers and voters had this conversation in the late 90s. It was a non-negotiable thing for Dan Rooney back then that the stadium needed to stay on the north side. Like there were discussions back then, at least theoretical ones, about moving out of this, either out of the north side or out of the city. And he was just very flatly like, nope, not happening, because the Rooneys are a north side family and blah, blah, blah.
They are. Dan even wrote like a history book about Allegheny City. It's okay. I did learn some stuff.
I struggle to imagine a world where the Steelers move out of the north side. Now, that being said, renovations take a ton of money, not $2 billion, but a ton of money.
$2 billion.
Did I say 2 million?
You did. That's wishful thinking right there.
That's a tough needle to thread too, because if you're doing extensive renovations on an existing stadium, and that's what we would be talking here, it turns into a little bit of a moving target for dates. Like, what do you like? Do you go play at Mountaineer Field in Morgantown for a season while?
Because like if you slapped a roof on an existing arena, that's a ton of time. Like I can't fathom them being able to complete that in an off season, one single off season.
There have been, it's happening in Washington, D.C. right now. They're doing significant, extremely expensive renovations to Capital One Arena, right? The Capitals and the Wizards, the NHL team and NBA team that play there, don't have to move. Nobody will be displaced for any amount of time. The closest analog, honestly, was in Chicago. This is like probably 25 years ago now. The Bears did major renos on Soldier Field, and the Bears played definitely for one, possibly for two. They played at the University of Illinois football stadium. They had to move out because the renovations were extensive enough, and we're not even talking about building a roof either.
I was about to say the Bears though did not do a roof. Like they may have done renovations that I would argue were very outdated at this point, but
right, it was and now of course the Bears are having, do we move to Arlington Heights? Do we move to the Indiana suburbs? Like they're having the stadium conversation now too, after the most expensive stadium renovation in history that displaced the team for 2 seasons and blah blah, and it was not that long ago. So you can see how the life cycle of the discussion really, it never stops. But yeah, that's the renovation question is could they do it in a way that wouldn't displace the team, and if that weren't the case, like where would they play? I think West Virginia honestly is probably the leader in the clubhouse, because there's not a lot of good options close by, because Pitt, as we all know, does not have their own football stadium.
They don't. But God, can you imagine the West Virginia Steelers? Like, I feel like people would riot.
Imagine what the highway to Morgantown would look like.
Exactly. Like all those season ticket holders would be so mad.
Can you imagine? Just like then we'd be backed up to Waynesburg.
We're giving all the attention to Acrisure, to the Steelers, because I feel like they've consumed all the oxygen in Pittsburgh for the last several weeks, months. But PNC Park
decades.
Decades. But PNC Park is in the same pickle situation. They have the same opportunity because their lease also expires after their 2030 season. I think for them it's like actually on Halloween. Will Bob Nutting ask for a new arena? Is that coming too?
I would say he's going to ask for a whole bunch of money to renovate PNC Park.
Which is wild to me. I was just there for opening day. It's still gorgeous. It's still consistently rated like the most beautiful park in America.
They've done a better, especially over the last few years. There was a stretch, probably coming out of the pandemic season, where you could tell that they were maybe that they didn't have money from the gate, obviously, and they didn't have to worry about having a full stadium. I don't want to say it was starting to show its age, but bits and pieces of it were kind of falling into disrepair. And they've since fixed it. I'm loath to credit Bob Nutting for anything ever, but I think they've, found a way to, keep that fresh and keep that fully up to date in a way that maybe we haven't seen from, I almost called it Heinz Field again, Acrisure Stadium.
So the play then is upgrades. You think upgrades and potentially a roof.
As we get closer to the PNC Park lease expiration, I don't even want to dip my toe in this water, but like you're going to start to hear team relocation stuff around
with
that.
Which one or both?
The Pirates.
Okay.
I don't think it would happen, but I think in their case that would be an actual weapon that they could use to potentially get big money if they want it. Because Major League Baseball's finances are complete. We don't need to get into that, but that's a mess. So yeah, prepare to be threatened by Bob Nutting over moving the team. That would not surprise me.
People hate that man. Like, can you imagine how much Pittsburgh will hate him if he suggests taking away one of the oldest teams in baseball?
He's shown in a very real way over the last, 20 years or however long it's been since he took full control of the team. He's shown that his appetite for getting shamed is pretty high. It takes a lot. I think maybe we've seen him pivot in some positive ways over the last couple of years, but I wouldn't put anything past that man.
All right, last one. What's the timeline on all this? And how should taxpayers be trying to pay attention? How should we be bullying taxpayers to pay attention?
In the late 90s, when we had this, or when other people had this discussion, the taxpayer hook was $14 million a year. And it came from sales tax, right? That's still, that $14 million per year in taxpayer money goes to, the construction of PNC Park in the former Heinz Field. So in a way, we're still paying for it.
We are still paying for these arenas. They are not paid off technically,
Correct.
Not the taxpayer portion of it. And now we're having this conversation again. Also, didn't taxpayers say no to that? Am I crazy? Didn't we actually say no to paying for their arenas, and we had to do it anyway?
Yeah, and then they
then
they did it anyways. Yeah, I remember that. My dad worked for the management company at Three River Stadium. It was called SMG. That was his business, making sure the lights were on in the stadium. So I was like, I remember it. I was 12 or 13 years old, obsessing over whether the Plan B vote would pass. And here we are again. We're having the same discussion. $13 million or so could be extended. That's something that could just exist in perpetuity if the lease gets renewed. But that's still far enough down the road where if you ask around and try to figure out, especially the Steelers, what direction they're leaning in, you'll get ask 10 people, you'll get 10 answers. Honestly, it's tough to say. It's 2026. I think once you start getting into 2 years out from the lease expiration, that's when it's really going to dial up. So we're talking about it now. We're going to be talking about it a lot more in about 2028.
Okay. So it'll be Corey O'Connor's problem and maybe Sarah's. We'll see.
Yeah, right. Good luck to them both, I say, because this is a tough one.
Honest to God. Sean, thank you. We will bother you more as all this unfolds.
Oh my gosh, Megan. Yeah, I hope to talk to you at some point before 2028 when we really start having to worry about this, right?
Well, stop going to Edmonton, man. Hang in Greenfield.
I'm trying, man. Get me out of here.
That is all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. If you feel like you need to read up a little bit more about what's going down with our stadiums, what our public officials are saying about all of this, including the Sports and Exhibition Authority, the ownership group that has control of the stadiums and the convention center, check out a new story that just dropped from Public Source. They embedded some of our episodes. We appreciate Yins, but they do a deep dive and can explain a lot of what's going on and what we know so far. You can also take this moment to become a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. We really want to bring more folks into the fold. You can get that super cool pennant. You can get ad-free podcast listening if that's your thing. If you like our newsletter and especially our events coverage, every Monday we send out an email with the curated list of events that we are loving all week long to help you plan your week. We really want to try to be a good resource for you any time of the year. So come on down, $10 a month or $100 a year. We really want to hear from you this week and close this membership drive strong so we can see more of y'all out in the wild. Again, that's membership.citycast.fm/Pittsburgh. We'll be back tomorrow with more from around the city. We'll talk to you soon. Sean, you look tired. Are you okay?
I'm on mountain time. I've been in Edmonton for 4 days. Like I am tired. You look great. I look tired.
I wasn't fishing, I swear to God.